Did Jesus bite from Osiris? Yeah, what's going on, part of people, the place to be? I go by the name of the BK Apologist, transmitting all the way live. New York is the city, Brooklyn is the borough. What's good? What's popping? Glad to see you guys. Happy Bodega Eve to one and all. And of course, we gotta talk to the part of people in the chat. We got my man Amir. We got Dekala Apologetics. We got Asar. Yes, what's going on, sir? We got Mr. Green in the building. We got Revelator 007. Adrian Jones, East Side Apologetics is in the building. What's good? What's good? Glad you guys could be here. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe. Share this link to all your social media outlets. Tell a friend to tell a friend that's him again. Also, if you like this online ministry, you can support it via PayPal, or you can become a monthly supporter by becoming a patron, where you get an assortment of goodies to help you in your personal Bible study. So, all right. Oh, we got my man Bats. Built for Speed is in the building. We got Most Excellent Theophilus. Yes. That's what's up. Yeah, man. So I might be having some special guests come through to hang out with us this evening. If you was here, well, I guess a few weeks ago, I did a show on did Jesus bite from Horus or Heru, right? And biting is funny. I posted the video. Someone asked, biting, and it's an old school hip hop term, right? It means to copy someone's style. I got the fresh blue and white suede Pumas, and I see you the next day with the same sneakers. You're biting my style, right? And of course, that's one of the accusations that people have when it comes to Jesus. Right, that Jesus is somehow a copy of, various gods, specifically those of the Kemetic persuasion. So, I did a show about, Horus, and how that clearly wasn't the case. But people also have made an argument about Osiris, that Jesus is a copy from Osiris. So we're going to, dive into that real quick. So, right, so did Jesus bite from Osiris? And of course, biting, right, is an old school term. Copying another rap artist's lyrics in a plagiaristic form. This is often done while rapping freestyle, right? Okay, here's some memes that you probably have seen, right? You're a copycat god. Ooh, right? Osiris, son of God, was resurrected so that we too can have eternal life. That's nonsense. Jesus, son of God, was resurrected so we too could have eternal life, you say. That sounds about right. Right? So they're trying to say that, we're downplaying one and upplaying the other, right? As if one came from the other. Right? And I'm sure plenty of you have seen this on your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed, right? The split screen, Jesus Osiris, same difference, right? Right? I'm sure a lot of people, have done that. How about this one? The combo pack, right? Osiris plus Horus equals Jesus. And what is Jesus carrying? Well, it's a book by, I think, D. Murdoch, Christ in Egypt. He's one of the guys that gets referenced quite a bit in that documentary, Zeitgeist, that zombie documentary that doesn't seem to go away no matter how many times it's been debunked. So it will be debunked again today. All right, so how do I explain Jesus' ministry of Jewish monotheistic preaching, healing, miracles, prophecy, and resurrection? Osiris. Right? It's crazy. We see a lot of these things. So right off the bat, right, I can actually end the show with this source right here. This is from the Encyclopedia of Religion, and this entry is written by Jonathan Z. Smith on dying and rising gods. Right? The category of dying and rising gods, once a major topic of scholarly investigation, must now be understood to have been largely a misnomer based on imaginative reconstructions and exceedingly late or highly ambiguous texts. Good night, and that's it. Grand opening, grand closing, right? We're gonna keep going though. another scholar here, Tryggve Mettinger, a Swedish scholar and former professor at Lund University, has authored one of the most comprehensive works ever written in the field of dying and rising gods and its relationship to Christianity, called Riddle of Resurrection, Dying and Rising Gods in the Ancient Near East. He concludes his book by the following, quote, "There is, as far as I am aware, no prima facie evidence that the death and resurrection of Jesus is a mythological construct drawing on myths and rites of the dying and rising gods of the surrounding world. While studied with profit against the background of Jewish resurrection belief, the faith in the death and resurrection of Jesus retains its unique character in the history of religions." Right? The gospel of Jesus, the death, burial, resurrection, a credo statement that was crystallized within a year after the cross is unique in religious history. You don't find a one-to-one correlation with the death, burial, resurrection and any of the gods of the ancient Near East. Okay? So, to go back to the Encyclopedia of Religion, it says, in contrast to the other deities considered above, Osiris has a thick textual dossier stretching over millennia. Although the full connected myth is only to be found in Greek, in Plutarch's Isis and Osiris from the early 2nd century CE, right? So there's other mentions of Osiris. You know, we see, a lot of the tombs, offer offerings to Osiris as, he helps you maneuver to what's known as the duat, the Kemetic underworld, so you could get to paradise, right? So, but the only full-fledged story can be found with Plutarch. Now, there's an issue with that. And if you guys have seen some of my shows, I take Plutarch to task, because he doesn't actually respect, even though he himself fancies himself a Kemetic priest, he doesn't seem to really like Kemetic religion all that much. And he tends to do a bit of a remix, right? Which is kind of interesting because a lot of the more popular Kemetic teachers, not all, of course, I don't want to make a sweeping generalization. I'm sure a lot of them are very genuine, but many of them, when they talk about Kemetic religion, actually are echoing Plutarch. And I don't know if they're aware of that. But anyway, this is from an article called Plutarch on Isis and Osiris Texts, Cult and Cultural Appropriation by Daniel S. Richter. He says that the Had es Osiris, which is, I guess, French for the Isis and Osiris story, written late in Plutarch's life, offers some of the most sophisticated formulations of Middle Platonic metaphysics that have come down to us. Gee, you ever hear some of these Kemetic dudes talk about metaphysics? I wonder where they get that from, right? As scholars have long been aware, this is a deeply and explicitly philosophical text. Classicists have generally maintained that in the Hyde, Plutarch merely uses Egyptian material as a vehicle through which to express Middle Platonic conceptions about the structure and genesis of the cosmos. It is thus seen as incidental to the primary philosophical aim of the text, an exegesis of Plato's Timaeus. So he's just using it as a vehicle to get to his main point, which is Platonism, right? Platonism. It's crazy. So anyway, let's continue. Egyptologists have often cited Plutarch's The Hyde as a relatively accurate account of the cultic practices associated with Isis in the Pharaonic period. Both Gwyn Griffith and Hanai felt that Plutarch, despite his inability to read hieroglyphics, let me say it again, his inability to read hieroglyphics or to converse with non-Alexandrian natives, was a good religious historian. I find that weird, right? And I find it a bit hypocritical, because here's a guy who claims to know Kemetic history, but can't read the actual text that's written on the walls, and hasn't done any in-depth conversations with the people there. But he's considered a good historian. Let this be a Christian. Let this be a Christian who can't, a a Christian scholar who can't read the Greek and the Hebrew, they're like, oh, we can't trust that guy. The hypocrisy is crazy. And this is in academia. So that's just a sidebar, right? It's like, you got to keep that same energy. If you don't have a problem with him, you shouldn't have a problem with other scholars as well, right? But the bias is clearly being shown here. Ladies and gentlemen, before I continue, I'd like to introduce the South's sharpest mind that you will find on the internet today. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. M.J. Jackson. What's going on, sir? We can't hear you, bro. You're muted.
My bad. That's so unprofessional. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, what's up?
What's going on, MJ? We're just getting into seeing whether or not our friend Jesus is really a copy of the Kemetic god Osiris. I'm about to lay into Plutarch over here.
Oh, he gotta be a copy. This is really just throwing a whole bunch of stuff against the wall and hoping that it stick. Because Heru didn't stick, so Asar gotta stick.
Right. That's true. But let's continue seeing how Plutarch looks at Isis and Osiris real quick. Amir, Plutarch, that's towards the end, just during the Hellenistic period of Egypt, Amir. All right, so Plutarch does not explicitly claim that the hide is meant to be read as an exegesis, as is his De Anime Procrastinone in Tameo. He does, however, tell his sons that he intends this latter term to sum up various statements about Plato's view of the soul and the structure of the cosmos that he had himself made in other treatises. That the hide, the Hede, is one of those treatises seem clear from Plutarch's remarks there that the Egyptian myths of Isis, Osiris, and Horus expound in myth and enigma metaphysical truths that Plato had formulated. So Plutarch is saying that Isis, Osiris, and Horus basically are they get their ideas from Plato. I disagree with Plutarch. He's dead wrong. But it's crazy that this is his treatise. This is what he's teaching people. Right? So it's like, you want to talk about the white man's religion, Plutarch saying that Asar, that these things that these ancient Kemetic people believed in came from Plato. That's being very disrespectful to the indigenous culture of Kemet, to be quite honest with you, in my opinion. What do you think, MJ?
Seems a little racist.
Yeah.
And like I said, there was some white supremacy back then. I mean, white didn't exist, but there was most definitely Greek supremacy.
Yeah, I get those vibes. I definitely get those vibes.
Yeah.
Right. So let's continue. Scott Moncrief, however, argued that the hide reflected Plutarch's narrow interest in the Hellenized Alexandrian cult, which Plutarch felt, quote, alone held the key of the Egyptian true faith. This was, as Scott Moncrief remarked, quote, of course, a total inversion of the facts. So Plutarch is like, when Egypt, the Hellenized, the white Egypt, they understood the real Kemetic faith. I'm like, really? Right? These myths, were in Kemet for thousands of years prior to Alexander conquering this land. So it's like, but only the Hellenized dudes know. I'm like, yeah, it sounds a little supremacy. Sounds a little supremacy. I don't know. But let's keep going. Allegory is an ideological process. One begins with a goal and shows how a given set of steps lead to that goal. In the Iliad, Plutarch reduces the myth of the cult of Isis to a series of manipulable symbols whose eternal, original Egyptian organizing logic is subsumed by the overriding concerns of Plutarch's metaphysical telos. So yeah, he's just using this as a vehicle to prop up his Platonic metaphysics. Right? He's just using it as a metaphor. Like, yeah, so we're going to use, my version of Osiris to show you how my theology is so much vastly superior than these black folk. And this is by far the best fully written story on Osiris comes from this guy. Thoughts, MJ?
I mean, it says a lot. I appreciate that Mr. Plutarch has taken an interest into indigenous African religions, but it seems to be a whitewashing from antiquity, so to speak.
Yes. And look what Amir says. He says, Jabari, quote, "These are just symbols." Exactly. When you hear these guys say that, this is where they're getting it from. This is their master teacher here.
Yeah.
Whether they know it or not.
Yep. And they're parroting this whitewashing, so to speak.
Yeah, no, these are facts. And they may or may not know it. So anyway, to continue. The Izide, the barbaric elements of the myth. So let me say it again. The barbaric elements of the myth are removed from Plutarch's retelling in the same way as barbaric interpretations are disallowed. In the Deide, what is barbaric and false is consistently Egyptian. In the same way, Greek allegorical interpretation via citations from canonical Greek authorities leads the soul towards knowledge of the divine. So actual Kemetic belief, barbaric. Greek allegorical interpretation, divine.
Barbaric.
That's crazy, right?
Yep.
Because if we leave the ancient Kemetic religion as is, it's barbaric. So we gotta fix it. So he removes stuff. He's remixing this indigenous belief system. I mean, this is literally whitewashing, ladies and gentlemen.
You gotta clean that up.
It's crazy, right?
Gotta clean that up.
Clean that up. The earliest references to Osiris, this is from Following Osiris Perspectives on the Osirian Afterlife for 4 Millennia by Mark Smith, basically throws a shot over at Plutarch. It says the earliest references to Osiris in private monuments occur in offering formulas. Thus, in the initial line of the inscription of the architrave of the tomb of, can't say this guy's name, we read a bunch of hieroglyphics, an offering which the king gives, an offering which Osiris gives, the great god and lord of Ma'at, followed by a list of favors that these donors are supposed to grant to the tomb owner. They didn't think it was metaphysics. They really thought Osiris was a god, and they offered him gifts for safe passage through the Duat. They really believed it. The indigenous people came believed in Osiris. It wasn't some Platonic metaphysical telos that Plutarch was talking about.
Mm-mm.
And we have proof. We have the tombs of these people writing these formula offerings to a god. They wasn't doing aquatic equations and trigonometry, okay? Like, they really believed this dude existed. In other tombs, roughly contemporary with these, we begin to find references to deceased as revered before Osiris. The sense of this expression is that they are linked or associated with that god who looks after them and supplies their needs in the afterlife. They did not think this was some sort of metaphysical exercise of Platonism. They believe that if they're going to make it to the other side, they need to be associated and be a part of the god of the underworld, Osiris. What do you think, sir? Piece of vocab.
It's a Sar. Don't say Osiris.
Yeah, right. It's a Sar.
No, I mean, like I said, I always bring up the fact that you had priests who dedicated their lives to these deities. And, why would you clean and service the quote unquote statues that housed a certain essence.
Right, the opening of the mouth ceremony. Right.
Yeah, I mean, what's all that about? I mean, is that just theater? In the words of Rand Paul, is theater? Are they just going through the motions for these principles and and equations and things? These are equations that they're writing in these books and stuff like that. Or did they really think that they was providing service and food to these gods, to these entities? And we could talk about the spells and things like that, how it's designed to manipulate the gods and things like that. We could talk about that. But I mean, like, who are you fooling trying to explain this away for modern people? It is what it is.
And to don't know how you say your name. Why y'all? If you look at my thumbnail, he's green. He's mint green. He's not white, because that's how he looks, right? He's green. He's God of the underworld. So no, we don't have him white, sir. But anyway, to continue, I found this very interesting. It says here, I'm sorry, you said something, MJ?
Plutarch got him light-skinned.
He's
yellow.
He's yellow bone, red bone.
Like Esau.
No ancient Egyptian sources record how or in what circumstances belief in Osiris arose. This silence has left considerable scope for speculation about his origins, an opportunity which modern scholars have not been slow to exploit. Various theories have been proposed according to which Osiris was originally a god of agriculture, vegetation, or fertility, a Churhanic deity, a panther goddess, a jackal god, a personification of the deceased of the embalming bed, a deified human ruler, or an amalgam of all deceased kings, a generic royal ancestor. His cult, according to these theories, emanated from the Eastern Delta, Upper Egypt, or from abroad, whether the Levant, Libya, or even Babylonia. Now, this is huge. And the reason why this is huge is because, again, got a special guest coming in. Got my man Ninja for Jesus. What's good, sir?
What up, man?
Actually, you came in because we actually discussed this before, this particular quote that I'm sharing.
Word.
So the reason why this is a big deal is because some, not all, but some within the conscious community like to say that we're plagiarizing from the Kemetic beliefs, right? And one of the guys would be Osiris, that we are plagiarizing, we are stealing from Osiris. Now, of course, when we understand what plagiarism means, you would have to show proof that the thing that's being stolen from you is your property.
Right.
But according to Egyptologists, the people on the field, they're not sure that Osiris is a Kemetic origin, has a Kemetic origin. They're not totally sure. It could be Eastern Delta, Upper Egypt, Levant, Libya. They're not sure. He's been there for a while, but nobody can say that he is from there.
Wow.
So this whole idea that we stole from you, even if there is theft, you cannot prove that we stole from you. Even if there was such a thing as a theft, you can prove that this is your intellectual property. You can't say for facts that Osiris, Asar, is stamped, born, and raised in Kemet. You can't do it. What are your thoughts, guys?
Carl Murray, we gotta get a DNA test.
Right.
I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry, bro.
No, I said it's one of them. They claim Jesus, right? Like we got Jesus from Osiris or Asur. Okay, you have to prove that claim. It's hard to prove that claim when you don't even know where Osiris comes from. You don't even know if Osiris is native to your own. So it's tight.
Now, I'm not saying he can't be.
Right.
I'm just telling you that the people who are in the field, the Egyptologists, they're still trying to figure it out. There is no consensus of that. So I'm not saying that he's not. What I'm saying is no one knows yet. So since it's still being up for debate, you can't make that accusation. That's basically it. All right?
Not with certainty. At this point, you're gonna be getting into some probability theory here. And it's not looking good, fam.
No, not at all.
Good.
So let's get into the meat of this myth, right? The Osirian myth can be reconstructed from the pyramid text of the 5th and 6th dynasties. While the names of the actors and details of the incidents vary, this record is remarkably consistent over 2,500 years. Osiris was murdered and his body dismembered and scattered. The pieces of his body were recovered, rejoined, and the god was rejuvenated. However, he did not return to his former mode of existence, but rather journeyed to the underworld, where he became the powerful lord of the dead. In no sense can Osiris be said to have, quote, risen in the sense required by the dying and rising pattern. Most certainly, it was never conceived as an annual event. The repeated formula, rise up, you have not died, whether applied to Osiris or a citizen of Egypt, signaled a new permanent life in the realm of the dead. Right? He didn't come back to life. He was reanimated, yes, in the Duat, in the underworld. He was the god of the underworld. So when you look again at the story, he's killed, chopped up in many pieces. His wife / mom picks up the pieces, can't find his phallus, makes one, right, and rejuvenates him. But when he's rejuvenated, he doesn't come back to life in this world. He comes back to life in the underworld. Now, compare this story with the death, burial, and resurrection. Like, how is this a ripoff of Osiris? I mean,
if you can't see the connection, brother, I don't know what to tell you. You got cognitive dissonance, brother BK. It's there. You just got to see it. You don't want to see it.
But I mean, okay, let's try to let's see if we can still man this a little bit, right? So, what are the similarities? Well, they're gods. Jesus is God, God the Son. This is a god, right? They both died, and they both came back, but one came back to life, and one came back in the underworld. So outside of divinity and death, where's the one-to-one correlation?
Okay, if you're gonna be honest, you have to also deal with the differences here,
right?
So whenever I'm dealing with this issue, I ask, did Osiris or Asar pre-exist his advent? But he was born, but did he pre-exist his birth or his advent? And the question for Osiris is no. He didn't pre-exist his arrival on earth. For Jesus, absolutely. Jesus possesses, or the Son, the second person of the Trinity, possesses what's called aseity. In other words, he pre-existed his virgin birth. Okay, he pre-existed. He took on human form. He took on human flesh for a purpose. Right. So no, Jesus is not a demigod, so to speak.
Right.
The second thing is, what was the purpose of Osiris? Did Osiris' death have a purpose?
It became a purpose later. It's because of his reanimation and his ability to maneuver through the Duat. If you have the right combination of spells, you too can join Osiris through safe passage through the Duat to paradise, right? That's basically what ended up. But of course, you have to have the money to purchase the spells. But that only happened after the first kingdom fell, because prior to that, the only people who was privy with such knowledge was the Nasuts. The common committed citizen did not have the ability to get the spells to get them to paradise. It was only after the first economic meltdown in ancient Kemet that this information actually got disseminated to, middle class Cometians. So that's another issue too. It's like your king didn't want you to have this information. But that's a whole, and we've discussed that in another video. That's a whole different thing. My man here, our lady, says, stop the Greco-Roman lies. I agree. Stop quoting from Plutarch, guys.
but check this out real quick. I'm gonna let you say a piece, brother Pierre. But 1 Corinthians 1:26, what does it say? And I'm reading from the NIV. Brothers and sisters, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standard. Not many were influential. Not many were of noble birth. So even in terms of the people that are often chosen, the people that are often drawn to Jesus, there's a difference right there. With affluent.
Right.
And I often say that one of the main differences between Yahweh in the ancient Near East is God often identifies with the orphan, the widow, the fatherless, the lowborn,
right?
Those who would be oppressed, so to speak. And that's Paul talking for those, and that's I've been on a trip lately, but that's just another difference between the style of Yahweh, who Jesus the Son, God the Son. That's a difference between Yahweh and all of the quote unquote false deities of the ancient Near East. And somebody might get that I said A&E. Get over
it. His dude's messy. Anyway, my man Ninja.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one-on-one correlation outside the generic. They both were gods. That's it. Like what they want us to believe that this is like Super Sentai versus Power Rangers, and they are the Super Sentai. And it's not. This is like Power Rangers versus Teletubbies, and they're Teletubbies. Like the only difference, the only similarity is you got a bunch of figures with different colors, but the whole plot is it's different, man. It's just different. So, and I think MJ did a great job of covering it. Like when we get into the one-on-ones, the reason why they died is different. How they came into the world, the one's contingent being, the other one's not. That there's the difference. We don't even want to get into the sister act that those Osiris and Isis got going on, the brother and sister thing they got going on, but it is what it is.
And my good friend here says Hebrew and Greek don't exist without mighty Kemet. Give it up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call a red herring. Because no one is discussing whether or not linguistically Hebrew or Greek came before Kemet. And for your satisfaction, you're right. Hebrew is very much a late script.
Thank you, Kemet.
Metal Netter. But this is not what we're talking about. Okay?
I always tell folks, thanks for letting the Lord use you.
Jesus is the nomadic version of Osiris. Wow. So after all that we just broke down, that's what you got, huh? Okay. But let's continue.
That's cool.
Let's continue. Through these parallels, the individual Egyptian dead became identified with and addressed as Osiris. Perhaps earliest in pyramid text 167a, 168a. The myth and ritual of Osiris emphasizes the message that there is life for the dead, although it is of a different character than that of the living. What is to be feared is, quote, dying a second time in the realm of the dead. That's from the book of Going Forth by Day, the Prep M. Heru, 175 to 176. This was written in the Metal Netter, by the way. This is not Greek and Hebrew. The pyramid text was not written in Greek and Hebrew. So in the middle letter, it says this. The fear is to die again, not in life, because you don't get resurrected back in life, but to die a second death in the realm of the dead. So the people who could afford these spells knew that even though they'll be revivified, it won't be in the land living. They understood that. This is not metaphysics like Plutarch was talking about. Right? And like my man said, or lady, stop the Greco-Roman lies. Absolutely.
Yeah, stop them right now.
Stop it, please.
Red octagon. Stop it.
You know what I mean? Because here in the pyramid text, they clearly show, because remember, they are identifying with Osiris. And why are they doing that? Because Osiris didn't come back to life, but he arose again in the realm of the dead. So if I parallel myself with him with these spells, I too get a second life, but in the realm of the dead, as per the middle letter written in these texts.
Right.
And one more thing here. Oh, no, I got a couple more. Osiris was considered to be the mythical prototype for the distinctive Egyptian process of mummification. Iconographically, Osiris is almost depicted in a mummified form. The descriptions of the recovery and rejoining of the pieces of his body are all elaborate parallels to funeral rituals. The Virgil over his corpse, the hymns of lamentation, the embalming, usually performed by Anubis, the washing and purification of the corpse, the undertaking of the elaborate ritual of the opening of the mouth, with its 107 separate operations, as well as the other procedures for reanimation, the dressing of the body, and the pouring out of libations. Yep, that definitely sounds like the Gospels to me. No. 107 separate operations just within the opening of the mouth ceremony. These people, and you can't tell me these people did not believe this is real. You're not going to go through all this pomp and circumstance for algebra, for a celebration of oxygen. Like, no, they believe that this works. They believed it. Stop it. Stop the Greco-Roman lies.
There's a slogan in battle rap, one of the battle rap leagues. Do you believe?
Man, crazy. So finally, Osiris is a powerful god of the potent dead. In no sense can the dramatic myth of his death and reanimation be harmonized to the pattern of dying and rising gods. Because he never comes back, people.
He don't.
He never comes back.
He don't.
Oh, and by the way, he's green here too.
He chunked the deuce.
He's not white, he's green. See?
Big green.
Big green. Minty green.
Right.
All right. So thoughts, fellas.
In battle rap and S, comparing Osiris to Jesus is what we call a reach. It's just a reach, bro.
Reed Richards. We're doing the Reed Richards.
Big Reed Richards energy right there. Like, what's the wife from Incredibles? Like they doing that. Like they just reaching. Yeah, and what's beautiful about the truth about Jesus is that his life, death, and resurrection has implications for the entire world and the believers, right? We don't just believe like we're going to resurrect in heaven, but there's also, according to Revelations 21, there is a resettlement on earth, like
right,
the earth,
in your earth, right?
A resurrection of a sort in itself. So we're not even, So there's just too much beauty, right, in the truth about Jesus Christ. For there to be a need to borrow from Osiris and the myth around Osiris. Osiris in his myth meant something to the Kemetic tradition when it did, and that's fine. But to make the claim that he's the foundation for the truth about Jesus Christ, it's a reach.
Right. But that's why the ancient Hebrews, they didn't practice embalming because they knew they're getting a new form anyway.
Right.
So why am I preserving this joint for?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Peter called it a tent. Like, bro, I'm about to leave this tent, bro. I got a new home. This is old,
right. Bro. And since we're riffing on Revelation, right? It's like what Jesus says to the seven churches. It's an enthronement ceremony. There is no casting spells. I'm not on some solo bark with these other guys fighting for my life to see if I make it. No. If you died in Christ, when Christ returns, it is your enthronement ceremony. There's nothing but celebration. There is no trial by fire going on in the heavenly realms. You made it, fam.
Come on,
you made it. There is no. I don't need a spell cast. I don't need a solar bark. I don't need incantations. I don't need none of that. Jesus comes, gives me my crown, gives me my new name, and he introduces me to his divine council, and we co-rule with Jesus for all eternity.
Man. In other words, there is no Mortal Kombat going on over here.
No.
Have to go to another realm and fight Quinn Chi.
Right, I don't gotta fight the final boss. You know what I mean?
Finish him.
So again, I think we shown, via their own text, that Osiris is definitely not Jesus, and Jesus is definitely not copying from him.
No, it's a shame we gotta go in their own house to show them that we ain't neighbors.
I like that.
Go ahead,
I just want to read a passage of scripture out of Colossians 1:16 to further demonstrate that Jesus is in a class all by himself. It says everything was created by him in heaven and on earth, the visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers, authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. The same cannot be said of a contingent being like Osiris. Can't be said.
Right, because Aset had to put them back together like Humpty Dumpty. Mm-hmm. Jesus said himself, like, I will lay down my life and bring it back up again.
Yeah, come on.
I didn't need the assist of Mary.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
destroy the temple. I will raise it back up.
I will raise it.
Come on. Ain't no Humpty. Do the Humpty Dump. Do the Humpty Dump. Like what ISIS was on something.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, it was none of that, and that's why it's in. I say this graciously, and that's why it's so important for us to identify and bear witness to the truth that Scripture reveals, that the Son, Jesus Christ, the Son, pre-existed before he took on flesh.
Right.
And I'll just leave that there. But it's in our scriptures. Colossians is great. Colossians chapter 1:6. It just lays it out like it's Christ has been around since eternity. He didn't just show up
right
in the first century via virgin birth. No, everything was intentional about his coming to earth and redemption plan, the reconciling between God and man. So
and then when you understand that he's basically, she basically performed necrophilia to the corpse of a dead god, but yet was inseminated by this dead god. Like, how is this the gospel to you guys? Like, it's not the gospel.
It's not the gospel. I had a debate a couple months ago, and I was kind of bringing up, even when you compare Isis to Mary, one's a human, the other one's a god or a goddess. Like you said, those one-on-one correlations, they just fall up. There's no equivalency between the stories. Like, there's not.
Well, they try because they say that the Kemetic word Marie is similar to Mary. But I'm like, yeah, but you can only make that correlation in English. Mary's not Mary. Her name is Miriam.
Yeah.
So it only works if you do. It's like the whole son thing. Yeah, that's great if we keep both words in English. It only works in English.
It only works in English.
So yeah, it's crazy.
But didn't a lot of deities and kings have the title of Mary as well?
I'm not sure. That I'm not sure. I know one of them, there was two women in one of the plates and they were called Marie.
I can't.
Right?
I don't
but
have.
It's not Mary though. But it's not Mary.
I don't have the source on me readily, but I'm pretty sure me and Adam talked about this, and even certain kings had the title of Mary.
Right. That could be true. I'm not sure.
I will locate that source and get that back to you guys because
cool.
That's a red herring.
And even when we look at it is. Even when we look at the Old Testament prophets, like I think Isaiah was the scroll of Isaiah, because it wasn't a book back then. The scroll of Isaiah was around like 500 years before Christ shows up. Like we see that Christ fulfills the prophecy, and the gospel writers go out of their way to bear this truth. And so it's self-contained. There was no need to borrow from any other tradition. We have it. It's in the book. If they took time to actually read the prophecies that Jesus Christ fulfilled, they would see that up to 500 years before he showed up, God had already was already preparing them to receive him already. So
right. Yeah. I mean, and it's not just Osiris, Asar. It's not just Heru, right? There are no dying and rising gods in the ancient Near East. There are none. People have done the quote unquote, they've done the research.
Yeah.
And they've concluded there isn't any dying and rising God except for Yeshua HaMashiach. He's unique. The Mettinger said he is unique in religious history. Because no God has died and actually told you, I'm going to get killed and I'll be back in 3 days.
He called it out.
Yeah,
this is going to happen, bro.
You know, you don't find that anywhere in the A&E. You do not find that. There is no dead and rising gods, period. So there is no correlation because there isn't any.
Right.
There isn't any. So when people tell you that there is, they're just parroting some meme that they saw on their timeline that day. They didn't do the actual research.
Right.
If they come at you with the Osiris thing, please hit them with this video. There are no dying or rising gods in the A&E. None. Not one. Except for Jesus. That's it. So we need to put this to bed. Now, of course, you're still going to see people bringing this up, but I'm hoping that, us bringing this kind of material to you guys will equip you. Right. So when you have these discussions, whether it's on the internet or at the water cooler in the office, or, Thanksgiving, when you come back, to your hometown and you got to sit next to your super woke cousin, and now all of a sudden he's wearing an ankh and a turban. You know what I mean?
Big woke.
Big woke, that next family reunion. You know what I mean? So you can be equipped now and not feel afraid to defend your faith, because your faith is true. Right. And it's not a ripoff.
No.
It's unique. Your God is unique.
Yeah, man.
He's unique. There isn't anyone like Jesus. Most of us who are believers in the chat, we already know that. Here's some more proof. I'm just reinforcing what you guys already know. He is unique within the history of religion.
Jeez.
God went and disrupted actual history and tabernacled with the very creatures he made so that he can be one with them.
That's powerful.
You're not going to find that anywhere else. Only here, buddy. So come home.
Right, come home.
Everybody come home. We got enough room for you guys. Come home, man. So with that being said, man, any final words before we get out of here, guys? Also, if you got any shows or anything coming up, please feel free. And, share your YouTube channels, your Twitter, all that.
Just Ninja, #4 Jesus on all social media platforms. And my final thoughts is Jesus is one of one, and that's it. That's right. I hope this video just helps equip believers to give language and context to Jesus being one of one. And I hope it convicts the non-believers that are watching to actually, we're challenging you to go into the books and the scholars yourself and validate what we say. Like, if you don't agree with us, then bring proof that we're wrong. We went into the Kemetic house and showed that ain't nothing in here got anything to do with Jesus. So, so just prayerfully, you see the same thing. And we got you when you come home, fam. We got you. It's all good.
Yeah. MJ.
All right. So, of course, I'm gonna always have some stuff coming up with my partner in crime, Apologist in Detroit. I'm not sure if we got anything going this weekend. It will probably be Monday. I have some things coming down the pipeline. I haven't secured any dates. There will be a part 2 with myself, Brother Brandon Cleaver, and Mr. also a carpenter, Bradley Mason. We'll be doing a part 2 on CRT, just trying to understand it and use our minds to glorify God by representing what it is and not attacking what it is not. I'm going to be having Pastor Brandon Washington on my channel. He's one of my favorite theologians, my favorite public theologians. I really appreciate him. Probably going to be getting my favorite professor, Dr. Jonathan Pritchett, to come on the channel. We're going to have might have a little round table. I don't know. I need to get BK. BK haven't been on my channel yet, so I need to get Brother BK some of the.
I haven't been on your channel yet? For real?
No,
Man, that's crazy.
I had to get BK and Ninja for Jesus on the channel. We might just have a little round table discussion as the year wraps. So, we got some stuff. Dr. Soong Chan Ra, he's going to be coming on the channel. So we got a few things coming because I'm going to have a little bit more time on my hand. I'll be done with school by mid-October. So I'm going to have some extra time on my hands to go live and talk and really try to get God's perspective on some of the things that we're dealing with.
Right. Good stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have another red herring alert. Gratitude to Kemet. Nowhere in this video were we discussing whether or not we should be grateful to Kemet. We're talking about is Jesus a copy from Osiris? There are a lot of beautiful things about ancient Kemet. A lot of things that we could learn from. Definitely have one of the most intricate scripts that has ever been created in the Metal Netter. The architecture, the irrigation technology, right? There's so many things that we can learn and benefit from, right? Papyrus, right? There's this medium that we use to write, was introduced to us probably by ancient Kemet. A lot of great stuff. But so we're just saying that Jesus didn't come from Kemet belief system. No. And then this person also says, don't desecrate our northeastern African culture. Tell that to Plutarch.
Right.
He was desecrating you.
Right.
That's why I started with him, because his understanding of ancient Kemetic thing was whitewash. The very thing you say about Christianity, he was doing to your belief system. But many people in your community quote Plutarch. He said that your indigenous belief was barbaric. I didn't say that. He said that. Like, what you guys believe can't be real. Let me do this Platonic remix on your belief system real quick, so it's more palatable to my Hellenistic palate. That's what he did. So don't come at me. Come at Plutarch and stop quoting, because he's the one that says that these gods are not real, that these are symbols and metaphysics. He sounds like these dudes on 125th Street in Harlem. They all got it from Plutarch, who didn't care about your religion. So if you beef with anybody, beef with Plutarch, he desecrated your culture. That's why I brought it up. So there. With that being said,
you're king.
You know what I mean? It's like we're desecrating it. Meanwhile, ancient Africans were Christians by the mid-4th century, but we're desecrating. You know what I mean? But we're desecrating. But anyway, with that being said, any last words, guys, before we out here? Now we good? All right. So with that being said, Ninja for Jesus, MJ Jackson, and BK Apology signing off. Tomorrow, we definitely will be having the bodega. So make sure you tell a friend and tell a friend. Until then, peace.